I thought this would be a nice little thing to get. No doubt, this is going to say Gateway to Mars. November 28, 2023, here at SpaceX launch site in South Texas. I don't know if they'll lift up the M tonight, but I'll spend some time here, see if they do it. Maybe they'll close out the day with the MARS. We'll see. Otherwise, it'll just say arse, and maybe that's not such a nice thing for it to say. Yep, it's going up to Canaan. This is right next to the launch site. It's on that face, blocking the suborbital tank farm. To the left, they're still building the wall over there. So probably Gateway to Mars is what we're going to see. I saw some of this on Facebook, people sharing the events over there. So I was kind of excited to get back here today and see if I can get the shot here. Yeah, so I'm going to be flying out of here on Thursday morning at around, well, just after lunchtime to Georgia. So I'll be gone for about 3 weeks, but I'll be back before Christmas. Maybe, I think Elon said around then is when they might be ready to do something at the earliest anyway. So, but yeah. And probably through the new year I'll be here, and then I'll get out of here again. So. There we go. You know, I learned some things today. I found a new YouTube video, a new YouTube channel that has some great videos about the different moons and also planets inside and outside of the solar system. There's a moon next to Enceladus called Tethys, T-E-T-H-Y-S, Tethys, and it's right next to Enceladus. It's the next orbital. It's the next orbit out, just like Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. Mars is after Earth, in the same way around Saturn. Tethys is after Enceladus, and Tethys has like a 0.98% density, so it's almost pure water, and it does have some red streaks reminiscent of some type of venting going on. So it's kind of a neat thing. Right next to Enceladus is another ocean moon. Yeah, walling off the view. Yeah, there's still a good view from the dunes. That's correct, Don. But for this spot here, this is the only side we'll be able to see this sign from. Maybe they'll put a sign on the east side. I don't know. But I know over at the build site, there's only just a one sign. So maybe this will be the only Gateway to Mars sign that we see going up. Maybe this will be it for like the next 20 years, this sign here. Gateway to Mars, that's where it all started, right here. You know, I hear that Blue Origin is coming up pretty fast. And maybe they'll beat SpaceX to the moon. We'll see, we'll have to see. Jeff Bezos, you know, Lex Friedman did a tour of the Blue Origin site with Jeff Bezos recently. I haven't seen the, I think he talked about maybe doing a podcast with Jeff Bezos. But yeah, happy Tuesday, Dave and Teresa. Good stuff. I would enjoy watching that. I watched most of the Elon and Lex Friedman podcast, so it'd be neat to see another one with Jeff and Lex. You know, Lex is getting quite a bit into the consciousness or metaphysics. He has yet to venture or to experience anything. I did see a photo recently of Lex Friedman drunk. Joe Rogan and him were, I think, in Las Vegas or whatever, and Joe posted on the in one of the JRE clips a shot of Lex Friedman drunk and passed out on the couch or something. So Lex is venturing into some of the consciousness stuff. He hasn't, I don't think, experienced anything yet, but he is curious, and curiosity is the beginning of experience. But definitely getting drunk is part of the expansion. I think both, you know, Elon is getting more sophisticated in the way he describes the potential consciousness states. He even talked recently about planes of thought and also emotion. So Elon is getting there. I don't think he's experienced it yet, but when he does, he will. It's going to be interesting. I was thinking on the way here, you know, the way I did it, the way I entered the metaphysics and everything else, I went full on. I dropped everything and I wanted to, well, I continued on for 2 years as a pilot, commercial insurance pilot, flying airplanes, learning to fly, 1996 to 1998. So I stayed with it during my first 2 years of metaphysics and consciousness experiences going out of body. But after that, I dropped everything and went into yoga and meditation in 1998, 99 is when I fully went into it and dropped everything else. I was about 21, 22, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 21, 22 is when I had space to drop everything and just go full on and study that type of stuff. But so I was thinking it's going to be interesting to see if they close off and are very silent and kind of secretive about their experiences, learning about the metaphysics, beyond physics. Some people have been talking, I've been watching another guy recently on YouTube, and he's been talking about how maybe Einstein was a dumbass because he rejected the ether in the early days, and so that created his foundation of science through the rejection of ether. So if that's true, if Einstein did make a mistake there and mess up some things, and that metaphysics is going to be an important revelation for Western society, especially as some of these rich people start having experiences. Because someone like me, or when I was in my teens or early 20s, some poor guy is not going to It's not going to convince a lot of people that there is something to metaphysics, and most of Western science is completely wrong as far as the capabilities of the human, or of the awareness of the being, that there are other states beyond the physical dimension, which I wrote a book about it. It's called the Out of Body Journal? No, it's called the Golden One, an Out of Body book. I wrote Out of Body Journal a few years later, but in 2017, the Golden One, an Out of Body book by Prince Paul Makos, written by yours truly, detailed the experiences which lay ahead for all these Westerners as they wake up to the possibility of aliens, as the people on Earth will refer to them as. But in fact, there are no aliens, because there's just the one consciousness throughout the universe, which makes up the universe. Just the one being, the one consciousness. The A in Mars is moving on that wall. But throughout the universe, there's just the one being, just the one consciousness. And so there cannot be any aliens. There can only be different aspects of awareness of that one being in the different bodies. So there are no aliens in the universe, but for a short period of time, however long that takes, the mass of humanity will believe that there are aliens, because it's good to fear stuff. People like to be afraid of stuff, until such time as they do some more further meditation themselves, and they will confirm that there is no such thing as an alien, because there's only consciousness. But that's much further along in the journey. That's the third level of out-of-body experiences, and people are yet to experience the first stage, or the first level of out-of-body experiences. So there's much, much more joy to come for humanity, and many more waves on the way. But the path I am on now, post-enlightenment, for yours truly, is into the beautiful existence of the billions and trillions of dollars in value. And as I do that, or as I attempt to do that with my team and those who are smart enough to take notice, we will do some amazing and magical things, hopefully. But anyway, there's some things on the edge of the vision for those who are limited to the five senses, because as they remove the blindfold of ignorance and they increase their capability of sensitivity, which happens in the quiet spaces of meditation and contemplation, they will venture eventually to notice, as it's been said that there's a guy, another YouTube channel, that talks about the location of the Earth in relation to the galactic center, and as it gets more direct exposure to the energy emitting from the center of the galaxy, the intelligence and sensitivity of the people on the Earth increases. So in the Hindu culture, they talk about it as yugas, Y-U-G-A-S. So maybe we should see the word yuga on this wall. But as the Earth goes more direct into the exposure of the center of the galaxy, we come in out of the Kali Yuga, out of the Yuga of chaos and ignorance and war and everything else, out of the caveman yugas back into the cyclical nature of the golden age for people on Earth. We will come into a higher energetic state as we have more direct exposure to the center of the galaxy, and it will be easier. It will be much easier for those who are less quick on the pathway to notice the higher energy states and capabilities on the other side of sleep, to notice the more senses than people ordinarily are aware of, And not only will we eventually see the word Mars on this wall, people all over the earth will eventually come to notice the out-of-body states. And, you know, in some of these movies, they show people levitating rocks and having all these different capabilities. If you look at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, many thousands of years old manuscript written in the Hindu language of those Indians over in the southern part of India, Sanskrit, a very ancient language, but they talk about the capabilities of the human person in a body. And they say that there's many different types of talents or skills, like sending fire out of the fingertips, levitation, ability to live long periods of time without eating anything. In the movie Dune, they talked about the spice, all these different skills and capabilities and talents and magical things we will have greater and greater exposure to as we come closer to the direct energetic emanations of the center of the galaxy. And we will have much more higher and higher technological capability as different parts of our brain expand and open up to the higher dimensions. Not only will our brain open up, but our capability of sharing the information that we find when our brains open up to the other dimensional realities, because we will become more loving and more beautiful creatures on the earth, and we will migrate not only physically but non-physically throughout the solar system, the galaxy, and the rest of the universe to meet our other brothers and sisters, which exist already everywhere throughout the universe. Mr. Perez, welcome. 10 for 10. I'm gonna do a zoom out here. This looks almost like a aircraft carrier. You know, there was a gentleman named William Tompkins. And he did a couple interviews with Carrie Cassidy at Project Camelot on YouTube before her YouTube channel was taken down. But she has a website called Project Camelot. If you look her up, Project Camelot. She interviewed this gentleman named William Tompkins. And he wrote that when he was in the military, as he grew up, he used to make ships of little models of the different aircraft carriers and things on the West Coast off of Long Beach and Santa Monica. And his little models of the different ships that he saw were so accurate that the people who ran the Navy in that area got concerned, because when he had the opportunity, he would go and take a tour of some of the naval ships out there, and he would use his feet while he was on the ships to calculate the length and distance, the length and width of the different ships, and then he would make the models and update where the microwave transmitters were and where the different towers were. And so all of his models that he had on display were confiscated. But eventually he ended up getting some scholarships through the military to go into the military. And he eventually ended up working directly with some generals that worked in the Navy back then. And they asked him to make some large aircraft carriers for space. And he did. And apparently these things were miles long, kilometer long aircraft space carriers. And the story he writes, he passed away in the last 15 years or so, but the story he told was that these things eventually came to be out there in space. And there was a whole thing about non-human intelligences mixing with the human intelligences. So not just humans and physical bodies out there in space with these mile-long and longer aircraft carriers that he helped design. But he said that there was a lot more going out there in space right now and over the last 50 years than is currently known here in the public sector. But this sign here, which drew me to that story, does kind of look like an aircraft carrier. You know, that's the towers. You know, you got the tower and you got the different things on the ship there, sticking out of the top. And the color that they're using here is like a gray aircraft carrier kind of thing. But that's kind of what it reminded me of. But this is a civilian location. Civilian means not military, not militaristic, and it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting. You know, I wrote, I don't know if some of you follow me on Twitter, but I put a message on Twitter today, as well as, or X as we can call it, on x.com. Also, I put the same message on LinkedIn, if you follow me on LinkedIn, Paul S. Mamakis. But there is a monopoly on Earth as far as news. And we receive news about everything on the Earth, but we don't receive news about stuff that doesn't happen on the Earth. So the people on Earth, if we consider that there are multiple civilizations here in our solar system, as well as on the Earth that are non-human, there is a monopoly, almost like a, what is it called, where you have a, where you prevent a different country from getting all the different materials. So like to Iran, we put up a, like a barrier where they can't get all the goods and services from the rest of the planet. Like an embargo, not an embargo, but where we prevent them from getting stuff. A blockade, yeah, maybe a blockade. And their qual, good stuff. Let me see. But for news, we have all the news on the Earth, and we have a certain narrative that's fed to the people on the Earth, at least on the surface. And that narrative is that there's nothing but the people on the Earth. And so you can only buy your goods and services from the people who are in control on the Earth. So they have a monopoly on all the goods throughout the solar system and from beyond in the other galaxies, etc. They have a monopoly on the attention of the humans on the Earth. But there will come a time where people on the Earth realize that there is more than just the controllers on the Earth. Controllers on the Earth. People who control the news and everything else. The people who control the banks, central bankers, and the people who own the central banks, like the Federal Reserve is not federal and it has no reserves, but they do have a computer and they type digits on the computers, and they have enough guns and weapons to back up what they want to happen. So, yes, puppet masters. But there is almost like a blockade, like you mentioned, on news, which reaches the populace on the Earth. If you do venture into the out-of-body states, you can bypass and get through that blockade, which I did starting in 1996. But for those who haven't yet to to pass through. There's a narrative on the earth in the public sector as far as what's actually the situation and what's available. And there will come a time when that blockade is passed by the majority of the people on the earth, and we will open up trade. There's a lot of mosquitoes out here. We will open up trade of not only knowledge, intelligence, experience, but also goods and news. There will be news which goes off Earth and mixes with the other civilizations out there, and we will no longer be senile in terms of the vast expanses of the universe and the galaxy. A lot of people maybe, you may know this, that they talk a lot about the different Native Americans and some of the other people who are more sensitive, have a greater capability, and yet we see that the Native Americans a lot of times, as well as people in every culture around the earth, those sensitive people enjoy taking alcohol and destroying their senses, numbing their senses to get away from and get past all the maybe the blockade and some of the controllers that are all around the earth. So there is a monopoly, and how people deal with the reality of there being a blockade on the news and on the goods and services. If you want to get past that, just remember that I've seen video and photographs of people's brains who do alcohol compared to people's brains who don't do alcohol, and there are holes in the brain which develop for the people who do alcohol, as well as even other things as well. So, you may be able to bypass existence by having certain habits, but they do have an effect on the brain. And one way to pleasantly to learn more is to do some yoga, do some meditation, do some Tai Chi, maybe do some Budo. B-U-D-O. Budo is a type of, look it up, you'll learn more about it. There's a guy named Cliff High, he talks about Budo, B-U-D-O. It's probably the opposite of yoga, but it does have the same effect. It's very important. So anyway, I will end it here. The mosquitoes are getting big, but it's been definitely fun. I will be here tomorrow and possibly Thursday morning. I'm flying out Thursday morning, but big B. Tomorrow this will be up. I believe the M will have been installed by tomorrow. Maybe even later tonight somebody else might come by and get the M. I will enjoy taking a look at that word. I will enjoy getting to take a look at that word Mars when it is up. That will be on, at least in the space sector, the word Mars on this wall will have a large implication. All right, be well. That's it for tonight. The last image will be of the wall itself in all its majesty. November 28th, 2023. Be well, everybody. Good night. Good night. It's just past 5:41 p.m. Good night.